Welcome, everybody, to our session today on AI for automotive. My name is Kelleigh Ash. I am the Chief Technology Officer for Battle Motors. We are going to make sure that we stay on time today since we only have 40 minutes, and I want to make sure that we have enough time for a little bit of Q&A at the end. So with that, if you guys want to introduce yourself really quickly, then we can get diving in.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Onishi from Yamaha Motor Ventures. So Yamaha Motor Ventures is a corporate venture capital arm wholly owned by Yamaha Motor Corporation, and we invest into early stage companies. We are currently managing 300 million AUM and are investing globally, but most likely North America. And I have a background in both in manufacturing engineering, data science, and digital transformation, digital marketing, and now CVC. Quite a journey. Nice to meet you.
Hello, my name's Chrissie Kemp. I'm from Jaguar Land Rover. We make the world's most luxury SUV. And my job is Chief Data and Digital Product Officer. So my background's all things technology, automation, very excited about AI, but even more excited to be joined by 3 females on the stage in automotive.
Fabulous.
So,
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that too. Hello, everyone. My name is Shravanthi Denthumdas. I'm a VP of Engineering at Toyota and part of the connected division in Toyota. My responsibilities include leading all the connected vehicle platforms and ingesting all the data from the car and building cool services with the data. So a lot of data science, machine learning, and AI. And I'm also responsible for emerging technologies, and we use emerging technologies to enhance the different customer touch points customers have with our brands.
Oh, that's great. I actually really want to hear your story someday. So we'll get started. Let's start with how have your companies really improved the efficiency of the manufacturing process with AI? Chrissie, Kai?
sure. I mean, the factory, right? It's definitely been undergoing quite some significant changes. And we're really excited about the opportunity that AI generates, specifically around how we can get more and more autonomous capability to drive better outcomes with productivity. But as I say, at the minute, we are very much looking at how we blend the physical with the digital. And we're excited about the opportunities that digital twin capability can enable for us to do real-time simulation, better understanding of the machine's performance, the condition-based maintenance of the machines, and then to ensure like maximum productivity of making sure we can get the cars out. Because I'm sure many of you know, if you're waiting for a Jaguar or a Range Rover, there's quite a long delay at the minute.
Yes. Any more comments, Kai?
Yeah. So at Toyota Manufacturing, obviously, we use a lot of AI, specifically computer vision, to improve the operational efficiency. So using computer vision to understand, get more real-time insights about what's happening in the production line, and ultimately making sure our factory workers are staying safe. Additionally, we also use computer vision to detect the product defects and send them back to the manufacturing line. So ultimately, they meet the high standards we have for quality at Toyota. Generative AI, we've been looking into using generative AI to enhance the creative process of the entire design and manufacturing process as well. So a lot of interesting opportunity for AI in manufacturing process, and excited about these initiatives that are happening right now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I'm quite excited about the accessibility of AI. In this morning, we heard about the accessibility of AI changed the filmmaking industry, right? And it happened also within our organization as well. So especially I'm seeing a really great advancement in both manufacturing and also marketing, sales and marketing area in terms of use of AI. So we started using like the calling our initiative like a democratization of AI tools and data analytics capabilities throughout the organization. So currently in the past, only like a few handful of people, oftentimes those are in the center of excellence type of organization within large entity, and they serve as a sort of internal consultant to be used business units. But with power of AI tools, currently like manufacturing engineers or production engineers or salespeople, marketers, they started using like a data by themselves. And it created a lot of improvement in the efficiency and reducing the defect, finding like quality leads for dealerships. I think data should be used by and consumed by the people who are actually doing the operation.
Great. Thank you. Agreed. So let's move into autonomous vehicles. They really grab headlines and get people excited, like very few other areas of AI. So let's talk about what the current state is of autonomous vehicles today. What are the key innovations that may contribute to autonomous vehicles becoming more mainstream in the next few years, and how this will change the automotive industry?
Yeah, I can start. Yeah, so most of the OEMs, as you guys are aware, have level 2 autonomous vehicles, right? Like level 2 cars. Similar with Toyota, we have level 2 cars on the roads, where still a human has to have the hands on the steering wheel. But for autonomous vehicles to become mainstream, there's a lot more hurdles. While fully autonomous vehicles are safe on closed highways, they're not really safe on open roads yet. In my opinion, for autonomous vehicles to become mainstream, there needs to be heavy investments in making infrastructure, cities more connected, so cities can talk to the cars can talk to cars. Pretty much there needs to be, just like a human can understand everything that's going on the road, there needs to be that bi-directional communication as well. And I think government has to invest, right? Like countries like China has heavy investments going on in this space. So I think there needs to be a lot more push towards investments and making everything connected for autonomous vehicles to become mainstream.
Agreed. And let's talk about our government regulations needing to catch up with the technology as well.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And it's quite complicated because obviously all around the world is different legislation. And AI itself is not yet, the legislation is not yet where it needs to be, right? So autonomous driving, all about safety. Safety is clearly paramount, but it's also about how it changes the in-car cabin experience too. So if you're not driving, what is you doing? And what does that mean for your time that you spend in the car? Many people buy our cars because they love driving diesel cars that are very, beautiful and fast. But actually, if they're not having that driving experience, what else do we want them to be doing? We're a modern luxury brand, so we're thinking about how do we create partnerships with a wider ecosystem that will enable an in-car experience that's then really, really personifies that brand. But I think there's a lot to do before we see really you hands off the wheel and not having to do anything at all. I think it'll be a long time to come.
Yeah, so probably we need a little bit more time until like real full autonomous vehicle here on the road. I mean, like street legal cars. But at the same time, there are a lot of adaptation of autonomous vehicle technology in the private areas, like the large facility, like the chemical. The facility for chemical products, process engineering, or port operations. There are several areas that we can start using autonomous driving technologies from now on. So I think those kind of use cases can open up the new avenue for autonomous driving technologies. So I think it's a combination, both often private, public road and also private space.
Yeah, I think the other thing I'd say as well is if you think about the car industry, it's like about 100 plus years old. It's really old. So it's quite a change, the biggest change probably yet, as you think about the future of mobility. And if you think about how car manufacturers and OEMs have grown up, we've not necessarily grown up as being technology data companies. So we're all experiencing that shift. And I think with that, we are very much looking at and need to look at for autonomous driving an ecosystem of partners that's completely different to maybe what you'll see today. And you'll probably see, for example, we work very closely with NVIDIA. And I think you'll see more and more of industries, particularly automotive, looking at their ecosystem of partners very differently in this space to make sure that we're successful.
Yes, very true. And honestly, in the commercial space, we are seeing autonomous driving testing going on, right, in inner city ports and special use cases where it is a closed environment. So that is a great point. So let's now move into talking about specific examples of how AI is enhancing the in-car experience. This is the really fun stuff that the consumers love to experience, and love to hate it when it doesn't work, right? So let's talk about that and what novel features and functionalities can we expect to see coming in the next, 3 to 7 years.
Yeah, I can start. Fortunately, Yamaha Motor doesn't manufacture car. We manufacture motorcycle and boats. It doesn't actually have in-car experience, but I can talk as a sort of like the consumer. So yeah, so we have also a music company, like it's a sister company, Yamaha Corporation, manufacture in-car devices for audio purpose, and absolutely like the noise reduction or audio recognition, speech recognition, those kind of technologies are pretty crucial technology to enhance in-car experience, right? So you want to hear like really good audio, good music. You need to reduce noise, and also like safety is really big issue for in-car experience. You don't want your consumers always touching the display, right? So like speech recognition would be really important, and those technology are pretty already mature enough, I feel. So it's just a matter of time before those technology became a real application that hit to the market.
Yeah, this is definitely an area that I'm super passionate about. We do a lot at Toyota Connected, providing in-cabin experiences. So I'm particularly excited about the advancements AI is able to make in providing driver assistance systems that are more advanced, right? Whether it's providing lane departures or emergency braking systems or adaptive cruise control, all of these are super exciting and ultimately keeps our customers safe. And not only that, AI is also now we can use to detect not only the emotional state of the driver, but also physical state of the driver, and provide them with a more personalized cabin experience, whether it's setting the music to their mood, right? Or changing the lighting interior inside the cabin. I think all of these are super exciting, where it's more personalized to the driver or the passengers in the car. Additionally, I'm also excited about, obviously we have virtual agents or voice agents in the car, but I'm excited about how generative AI, particularly LLMs, are going to enhance the virtual agents in the car, where now drivers can have more of a conversation with the agents, and the agents are able to remember the intent of the drivers, right? That wasn't there before. So I think all of this is super exciting to enhance those in-cabin experience and ultimately keeping our customers safe.
Yes, great point. So let's talk about that real quick. How that would work. Can you give a couple of use cases of how that would work?
Of generative AI?
Yes.
Yeah, for example, you can today ask the agent about, like, you have a particular service warning symbol that came up in the car, right? You're driving and you suddenly see up a service warning symbol come up in the car, and driver might get anxious. Is it safe for me to continue driving or not? Now, there's some OEMs that have already integrated this, like you can integrate owner's manuals into the agent using LLM technology now. And customers can ask the agent, hey, I have this symbol that came on, right? Like, what does this mean? Can I continue driving? And the agent can now respond to that, taking the context. And this wasn't possible before, and this is now possible.
Yeah, that's great. Making consumers feel safe while driving and keeping them safe is perfect. Chrissie?
Yes, so as I mentioned, with sort of reimagining the whole experience of what being in the car will look like, I think that the China market's really interesting, because my last experience of that was that every car was full of screens, right? Not necessarily ours, but just in general. Do you want loads of screens? Do you want to be completely immersed in gaming, or, I don't know, like meetings or people? I think people may want more of a digital detox personally. But I think that's what's really fascinating as we look to do lots of consumer research across our different markets as to what people would like. I mean, I personally think that it's quite stressful commuting, which is often what people use their cars to do. So I'd be looking to make that as tranquil an experience as possible. And I think that, you know, things like personal concierge services that are all powered by AI, maybe improved by generative AI, are all an excellent opportunity to do that, and in a deeply personalized way. But we're also thinking very hard about customer data and trust, and how much we should be looking to monetize that or take advantage of that. So we're carefully curating our thoughts in that space, really, because again, as a luxury brand, it's really important to us that we make our customers feel like we're not just giving them a safe driving experience, but we're also giving them a safe online and digital experience too.
I'm going to visit China end of this month, so I'm quite excited about experiencing all kinds of different like in-car and also EV experiences. We oftentimes talk about like in-car entertainment experiences, but at the same time, AI or generative AI or a co-pilot or co-driver type of application might also increase the fun to drive experience as well. So this is still like the recent, I think it was last year, Subaru released the mobile application in Japan as a sort of beta version. And what the mobile application really does is like a co-pilot, and also suggesting like a fun to drive road. That's the core of the Subaru. Their DNA is racing, the racing, right? So rally, championship, etc. So they are of course working on like autonomous driving technology as well, like eyesight. However, also they want to use the safety feature to enhance the fun to drive experience for the consumers. So I think each OEMs have their own DNA and also the reason of the purpose of the company. So like AI, the usage of AI should be absolutely different across the OEMs.
I think you're right, but I think if a lot of customers own more than one car or vehicle or thing of mobility of some sort, and I think we do need to think about to what extent as a person do you want to be having to change that persona because the different brand that you're now interacting with wants you to have a different experience in the car. I think it's going to be a really interesting time as a customer and as a human to sort of tell us what you want, right? Tell us the experience that you need. Otherwise, you could end up with an extremely fragmented experience, and that Yamaha will do this, Battle Motors will do that, we'll do this, Toyota will do that. And I'm not sure that's necessarily the answer either. So I think there's a lot to think about that in terms of a joined up experience across the different vehicles or mobility services you may use.
Yeah, and also another thing, as we think about the in-cabin experience, right? Today and as we think about the future as well, there's multiple ways to do one thing in the car. Do we really need to do that? Do we really need to provide 3 different ways to do one function in the car? Right? At some point, it just becomes a friction for the customer. Mm-hmm. Just simplify and provide me one way to do the function in the most effective way possible. So having to think about it from multiple dimensions, yes, we want to provide more interesting, intelligent, personalized, contextual experiences, but how to, at the same time, make it as frictionless as possible. I think that's the key. That's the balance. I think most of the OEMs, it's a dance, right? Like having to do that. So.
Yeah. So in this case, most cars are connected. I think the connectivity really gives an opportunity for OEMs to directly connect to the consumers, having a better understanding of them. Usually OEMs have like a B2B2C model. Oftentimes the OEM doesn't have like a better understanding of the customers, but now we can be connected directly to the consumers through the car. I think connectivity is not about like the cars or motorcycles are both connected to the internet. Not like the car OEMs or brands can be connected with end consumers. I think that's the true value of connectivity, and it would absolutely help like all the stakeholders to have better experiences leveraging the power of AI and data.
Yeah, Yeah, agreed, for sure. Kind of talking about the in-car experience and all of the data generated and all of the direct-to-consumer interaction, really, that we're experiencing with the OEMs does bring up a very, hot topic, I guess, cybersecurity, right? And how can we protect the integrity of the vehicle and the safety? So how is that evolving over time? I mean, to be honest, our industry is changing so rapidly. We've never really seen this before. And the standards are coming after the changes are being made. So how have your companies really evolved that to protect our consumer safety?
Yeah, so data privacy is something we take extremely seriously at Toyota. Customers have to consent to the data collection, and they can go to their owner's application, and at any given point in time, they can opt out. We made it as easy as possible so that customers can opt in, opt out extremely easily. But it also brings up a good point, right? Like, we do want to collect more data so that we can provide services back to the customers, because without that data, we can't serve them. So we are looking into some technologies like federated learning. Obviously, Google has experimented or uses federated learning, but not something that OEMs have used extensively. So with federated learning, we are looking into ways where we can do localized learning of models, so that we don't have to upload all the data to the cloud, but only upload the specific parameters required to the cloud and do the global learning on the cloud, right? And ultimately, this addresses the critical issues as security, privacy, and also reduces the cost of uploading the data to the cloud, because that's quite expensive.
Yeah, and I think if you think about the cars now, they're like computers on wheels. So from a cybersecurity perspective, it's obviously paramount that every single aspect of that is considered. It's also very, very important, even more so in the context of autonomous driving, as we've already discussed. So I've invested heavily and continue to invest in cybersecurity when it comes to accessing the vehicles, as if in this idea of them being, as I say, computers on wheels. And I think that's the best way to really see how our industry is evolving, in that every aspect of nearly everything that's on the car is connected. That's why there's been so many challenges in the industry in general when it comes to things like semiconductors. So in that sense, I think if you think about it as an evolving piece of software, I think that you'll find that we become and we transition towards increasingly being tech companies and tech first companies that are applying exactly the same principles that you see in the big companies like Google, even Amazon, and the rest.
Yeah. So after we start accumulating tons of data, you also want to circulate those data with the stakeholders within your organization to find out how to bring the value back to the consumers. We need to work with salespeople, manufacturing, R&D. We need to also make sure how those data will be consumed by within organization, even sometimes including leadership as well. So there is a constant battle between flexibility and also governance. To be honest with you, there is no right or wrong answer here. Still, even within our organization, we are trying to figure out what's the best way to balance those two, flexibility and governance. It's really, really challenging. And also, we need to always keep up with the advancement of the technology as well. When you start implementing something a year ago, maybe the technology already became obsolete. So we also keep looking eye on innovation happening outside of your tech stack as well. It's really challenging to keep up with.
I think we've got to be careful and cautious too, particularly with the advent of generative AI. I think with the open large language models, particularly, I think we've got to be really mindful of the threat that can introduce. I was reading about Tesla. And I think ChatGPT launched a plugin where you can read the manuals for Tesla, right? In terms of what's like a virtual technician, what's wrong with my car. And the plugin accidentally introduced a lot of malware. So I think, it's great, generative AI. We're super excited about it. But I think in industries as old as ours and as safety critical as ours and as intimate as they are with our customers, we need to be very mindful and cautious as we introduce these capabilities in the context of privacy, security, but also just as you said, it's changing so quickly. The legislation is still not yet there yet. So we need to be very mindful with generative AI.
Yes. So we've mentioned a little bit about, the dealership model. So as automotive and trucking really adopt AI, that will affect how the industry actually functions. And the 100-year-old industry has operated this way for 95 years in the same manner, right? So how does the role of the OEM and dealership change? And how does the consumer shopping experience change? Because even in the past 10 years, that has completely been upheaved.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, right? Yes, there is a demand. More and more consumers want to go online, and obviously OEMs want to dealers want to retain that connection as well. So at Toyota, dealers definitely play a huge role and a huge part of our DNA. There are some OEMs that are trying to minimize the role and relationship dealers have with the customers. But at Toyota, we are looking at it very differently. We are looking at ways to provide more advanced tools and technologies to our dealers so that they can be enabled to succeed in this more modern retail era, right? So we are taking a very balanced view. Again, we don't want to take dealers completely out of the picture because they're a huge, huge part of our DNA.
I mean, I would say that how we all buy things, whether it's a car or not, is gone completely almost online, really, hasn't it? Even groceries, we don't really want to go out to shop for anymore. We want them to be delivered. So the online experience is really key. And then thinking about the role of the retailers, as you described, is really important. And you can probably read quite a bit in the news about what we're up to in that context. But for us, it's really about how do we create from the moment that you touch the brand, even if you just go on the website or you go to a retailer or you go to one of our new house of brands, as we call it, experiences, and you walk into Range Rover House. How does that make you feel? Do we know you straight away? Will we ever forget you? That's one of our brand principles now. Do we understand what it is you want to use your car for? Do we understand the history associated with you? Have you had our cars before? What other cars have you had? What other things do you like to do outside of driving a Range Rover or a Jaguar or any of our other very cool brands, I should say? And I think for us, therefore, it's all about a completely different curated experience. And you can see that increasingly with what we've done with the launch of New Defender. Love it or hate it, I love it. And if you look at the whole experience, the worlds, everything that we're doing, that's really forcing our dealer network to go on a very different journey with us. But it's also giving us an opportunity to think beyond the car and the purchase of the car or the subscription of the car too, but also about services. And then the services that you can create that are an extension of the vehicle, an extension of the brand experience. I mean, in Defender, you can imagine, the off-road experiences, there's all sorts that are possible. So I'd encourage anyone in the space to think beyond the car, and that what then a change in the model that as you go to market can allow you to do if you go for a really curated brand experience.
Yeah, having better understanding about the current customer journey is really important in these days. They completely change the purchasing behavior. In case of motorcycle, the young generation, like 20 years old or 30 years old customers, they go to dealership just twice. The first visit is to get a quote. Second visit is to get the motorcycle. So they make decision solely the only reason, like the information they can get online, the information source, or like the real world experiences from their friends or events, etc. So pretty much interesting, those kind of real world experiences, like test ride or having fun with their friends or family. Those are the pretty much important piece for our customers. So not only enhancing the digital experience on our website or mobile applications, also we are putting lots of effort and investing on the real world experiences. We call it Yamaha experience program. So they can even rent the motorcycle or side-by-side ATVs and you don't ride those products in the city, but you want to test it in mountain, right? So we rent out the places in mountain and they can go have fun. So I think it's a combination of real world experience and digital really the key to acquire customers, loyalty and also attention to us.
Yeah, I think the other thing I'd say is that I think you don't know what's going to happen next, right? Nobody saw COVID coming. So anyone that pretends that they can predict the future, they're probably very nice, very lovely people, but they probably haven't got the right answer. So I think you have to be ready for anything and everything. And I think that the metaverse is going through it's probably its first proper deep winter, probably not helped by our friends in Facebook. But I think that you'll find more and more of a push for people to go online and to have that experience of the car, whatever that might mean, in that brand world online. I think we see that in young people today. I think that some of our earliest connections actually with our customers, as we see our age demographic changing, are now in gaming. So I think you'll see the online digital world evolve very rapidly, actually. But I think you're right, it will be then linked with really key touch points in the physical. And I think I think the future of mobility is really exciting, but I think it's definitely more than the 4 wheels in the car that you see on your drive today.
It's challenging and interesting.
It is. So we'll finish, so we have a little bit of time for Q&A. What is your vision for transportation moving forward over the next 10 years? Again, I mean, I can't wait to stand here in 10 years and talk about where we're at, because I guarantee you none of us will have any idea where we're going to be. But so what is your vision for transportation moving forward?
Yeah, so I think it's back to the basics for me personally. It's really taking a customer from point A to point B in the most safest way possible, and also making their driving experience fun, whether they are driving or whether they're sitting in a car and the car is taking them autonomously. It's ultimately making that entire experience fun, more frictionless, and safe.
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely frictionless, definitely safe. Sustainable, it's ironic, right? Because you're probably sitting here thinking, well, don't you make some of the biggest SUVs? But we do. But we're really looking at that and really mean it. Like what we're doing when it comes to sustainability is really at the heart now of our brand strategy. And whether the world is ready for complete electrification, we shall see. Infrastructure, but certainly beyond just the electrification and the electrified way that you can drive with sustainability, but things like down to the smallest detail of the material that the seats are made out of in the car, right? So I think that as sustainable as possible, safe as possible, frictionless as possible, and not necessarily fun for me, although it should always be fun to be in a car, but more, as I said, it's just a space that makes you really feel like, it's an extension of your day and somewhere you want to be. And I think that you get that sometimes with business class travel, and you get on the plane and it's a bit bad now because there's Wi-Fi there. I don't know how many people feel upset about Wi-Fi. On the one hand, I'm like, oh, this is great, I can stay connected. But on the other hand, I'm like, I used to love that you could fly places and nobody could get you. So I'm sort of thinking, like, how do you create this world where actually you want to be connected, fine. You don't want to be connected, also fine. And you just make something that's truly personalized for you, and then also seamless from the perspective of the last mile. Because it's really boring if you think about transportation and then you do a great flight and then you're suddenly like 10 hours in a car or something because you've been stuck in some traffic. So how can it be as seamless as possible as well?
Yeah, so for most of the people, probably moving from point A to point B is really painful experience, and there are lots of way to increase the efficiency and also comfortableness as well. But at the same time, I'm currently working for Yamaha, which is like always providing some excitement with riding or driving our products, like boats or outboard engines or motorcycle or ATV side by side. So along the way, we adapt lots of technology that enables for like frictionless experiences or efficiency, sustainability. Of course, sustainability is important to us as well. However, if the world goes towards like the high efficient, society, 100%. Maybe there are some needs for like fun piece as well. So I hope we will be allowed to in this industry, even though like all the cars became autonomous. Maybe government doesn't want motorcycle will be on the road because it's gonna create complexity. However, I think still automotive can keep providing like a fun experience to some extent.
Absolutely. So with that, we'll open it up to any questions that you have for our panelists.
So you talked about a little bit about the sort of negatives, the data privacy. One of the things, we can talk about hallucinations. And so like when I'm building a model, there's always the center line of the data, and that's going to be great. The LLM's fantastic, right? But this outscripting, so let's take your example where it's telling the driver what's wrong with the car. I don't have anxiety. Well, sludge in the engine is exactly a very common one, for example. And maybe the LLM says, it's such small data, says something like, it's okay, it'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So this isn't really a question so much as a topic. Just discussion point. Anywhere you want to go. Your thoughts on this.
Yeah, actually bring up a very good point. Hallucinations is a big risk, which is why we haven't released LLMs into production in our vehicles yet. That's something we are actively looking into and partnering with companies like Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, like where investments are happening pretty heavily and are trying to address this problem. That's exactly the reason why it's not in production yet. It's an amazing possibility, but hallucinations are the real risks with LLMs today.
Yeah, and keep it brief because of time. I'd say the same, but also I'd say small data is a problem in any model, right? So whether it's a large language model or it's a machine learning model or it's just a small statistical multilinear model, if you've got small data, you've probably got bad outcomes. So you need to really make sure you're not acting on those.
Next question. Gentleman in the blue.
Well, you could be a machine buyer, right? So machine customer, I think that's a real thing that may happen, right? You'll have your own agent and your agent will buy the car for you if you want to own a car, or you may be the type of person that says, no, I want a subscription service. Thank you. This is how much I can pay. I'd like a little bit of Toyota, a little bit of Jaguar, and maybe a Defender on the side, maybe even a Yamaha just for some fun. And I think it will be highly personalized, but I think you'll see an increasingly machine-based purchasing experience where your agent will do all of that on your behalf.
Yeah, already website or mobile application has recommendation engines, right? And based on your previous, browsing history or your personal information you put in, like the applications on the website, they tailor the information on website. So to some extent, already there is a sort of the agent behind the scene.
Sure. Next question. Go ahead.
As consumers, we are living in a world where we have not A to B, but our trip starts maybe in the morning, have a cup of coffee, then commute to work, come back, ordering food, maybe in the car, let's say. Do you integrate with the partners, work with the systems to map out the customer journey and maybe like IoT standards like Matter to connect to all these connected experiences?
Yeah, that's really important to us because, as you say, the car is important, but that's just one part of your day. So that whole seamless experience of what do you do, what do you like to do, the consent and preferences and the sharing of data, the IoT devices specifically as to whether we've then got the edge ability to share that. So the customer's more important than the brand, right? But the brand needs to fit you as a customer.
Yeah, definitely. I think taking customer preferences and tailoring the experience in cabin to the customer preferences is the key. So you're just spot on.
I think we have time for one more question. Gentlemen?
Yeah, so at least at Toyota, edge is going to be important, right? For us to be able to provide more private and personalized experiences running these large language models on the edge is important. Obviously, it's not there yet. It's not possible to run LLMs on the edge, but I'm very excited about the Meta and Qualcomm partnership, right? They are experimenting on how to run the Llama 2 models on the edge, and that's going to open up a ton of possibilities. And we are very excited about that partnership and what's going to come out of that.
Yeah, I'd say we're just not there yet. We're definitely thinking about it, definitely trying to work it out, but it's we're not yet.
Thank you, everybody, very much for attending today. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.